Hello, I'm AnimeEveryday and welcome to 10 must-watch anime movies. You probably don't recognise my voice. I'm actually making a guest appearance here to recommend some of my favourite anime movies to you guys. I also have my own anime channel that you can check out in the description, but for now let's look at some movies. First up is Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. This film was released a year before Studio Ghibli was founded, and is one of the main reasons for the studio's creation. It was one of the early experimental anime movies, and really made an impact in the industry. The movie is about our main character Nausicaa as she tries to protect her planet from the wars of the humans. What was great about this movie is the extensive detail and imagination that was put into creating every inch of the world. Every little detail was filled with mystery. It's a fantastically made movie, and is still one of my favourite Miyazaki films. Next up is a more recent film, Redline. This movie really is one of the best works of animation. It took 7 years to create and was primarily hand-drawn. The movie is about our main character trying to win a big race, but it's the visual style of the movie that really overpowers everything else. It's filled with some of the most epic race scenes I've ever seen, and has some of the funkiest designs. It's definitely a must-watch movie, even if you watch it just to appreciate the animation. Steam Boy is another gorgeously animated movie. Set in 19th century London, it has some of the nicest art I've ever seen from an anime. Vast backgrounds and intricate details make this movie a fantastic visual experience. Director Katsuhiro Otomo took no shortcuts in creating the massive scale for this movie. It just does a brilliant job of immersing you into this wonderful steampunk world. Another film directed by Katsuhiro Otomo is Akira, an absolute classic. One of the biggest anime movies ever made, Akira is a must-watch for everybody. At the time it was the most expensive animated movie in Japan's history, and it really shows. Every second of the movie is bursting with detail and movement. It's a movie that will stick with you for a long time. Along with its immense visuals, it also tells an epic story about a biker gang who get tangled up in the government's sketchy plans. After decades, Akira remains one of the best and most iconic anime movies of all time, and for very good reason. Mind Game was directed by personal favourite director of mine, Masaaki Yuasa. It's a very bizarre movie. We follow Nishi as he gets himself into all sorts of bother with pretty much anything you can imagine. The movie is fantastic because of how crazy it is. The art's crazy, the story's crazy, everything is crazy. But it really does work. It manages to pull together a really solid story while maintaining its level of madness. Mamoru Hosoda is a fantastic director, and to be honest, I'd add all of his movies to this list, but for the sake of the video I'll only mention one, but you really should watch them all. Summer Wars is a really nicely told story about a boy's visit to his really interesting family. All sorts of things happen, and he has to fix those things by entering a digital world. The movie is gorgeously animated and is one of the most enjoyable movies out there. This next movie is a lot more serious and darker than the previous movies I've mentioned. Perfect Blue is a harsh psychological movie about the darker side of the idol business. It delves deep into the mind of our main character as she faces all the problems that come with being an idol in Japan. Satoshi Kon directed this movie in fantastic fashion, making the experience even more memorable. Similar to Hosoda, I would recommend checking out all of Satoshi Kon's films. In 1995, the notorious Neon Genesis Evangelion TV aired. One of the most controversial parts of the show was its ending, which was drastically different from the rest of the series due to the budget issues. A few years later, Hideaki Anno returned to create End of Evangelion, an alternative ending to the series. This time they had the resources to create a fully animated ending, and man did they do it in traditional Eva style. Royal Space Force was released a year before the aforementioned Akira, and it has similar circumstances. This would be the most expensive anime movie of its time, before Akira came along, and it also really shows. It's a fantastically animated movie with some amazingly detailed shots. It follows our characters as they try to venture into space. It has a really interesting story with some really well written characters. The Ghost in the Shell franchise is one of my favourite anime franchises, and the 1995 movie is one of my favourite parts to that franchise. Directed by Mamoru Oshii, this movie was far ahead of the other movies of its time. It's packed with awesome action scenes, very well written dialogue, and some fantastic animation. Especially if you're a fan of sci-fi, this movie is an absolute must-watch. So that was 10 must-watch anime movies, and I hope you found a few new movies to watch. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider checking out my own channel in the description. I'm very close to 10,000 subscribers. But for now, enjoy the movies, and thank you very much for watching.